welcome back. Today we're going to ride to St Kilda skatepark through currently on Church Street, going to go to Chapel Street and then go down to St Kilda skatepark, check it out, and then have a little ride on the waterfront after. And I'm going to talk about why brakes aren't as important as you think they are. You can see the car next to me having a little bit of a race, but yeah, more on that a bit later on. So yeah, I think there's a lot of discussion, or people ask me also, what are the best brakes for your bike? Do I run like canty brakes? Do I run rim brakes? Do I run disc brakes? Another good one is canty brakes as strong as V brakes? And there's all types of discussion and different opinions by different people, always saying, no, this one is stronger, this one's not. Here you can see the same car passing me again. And yeah, the question with the brakes, or people who worry about brakes, are usually people who haven't ridden for a long time, or they're new in their cycling journey. And yeah, here I'm passing the car once again. But yeah, I want to say it's people who haven't experienced riding a lot, or riding a lot of different bikes. I know I'm kind of like probably a little bit strange having access to try all different bikes and disc brakes, rim brakes, V brakes. Like, I've kind of tried them all. Even fixed gear, I've tried brakeless fixed gear as well. And I'm not just saying like around the block, I've tried it for years. But yeah, it's totally understandable if you're kind of new and you're trying to work out what brakes work for you. But I think what happens is people tend to focus on the actual brakes themselves too much, where I think it's also a big part of riding is the actual riding skills itself, and braking is just one part of that. It doesn't matter how strong your brakes are if you have bad riding skills or you haven't been able to learn them. Yeah, the brakes aren't going to save you. I think one good kind of comparison I see with that is, you see all the people on electric scooters and they've never really ridden on the road before, they've only driven their car. So basically they ride the electric scooter like a car, and they don't realize that it's a completely different skill than driving a car, and there's way more accidents and yeah, kind of like dangerous situations that they put themselves into. Here we're just riding through Paran, kind of like the shopping district or Soho of Melbourne. And the electric scooters I'm talking about are the ones that get rented here, part of like a rideshare thing. They all the scooters, I'm 100% sure that they have to pass regulations that the scooters can stop. So it's not really the stopping that's a problem, it's really just the rider skill that's the issue. So if you bring it back to bikes and you're a beginner and you're riding, you want brakes obviously that work and bring you to a stop. And all three can do that: canty brakes, V brakes, rim brakes, and also disc brakes. They'll all bring you to a stop if they're set up properly. But on the other side of the coin, if you're just starting to ride a bike and you're unsure about braking, you're not going to ride super fast and then try to brake suddenly. You should try to develop your skills slowly before you ride super fast. I think that that tends to also happen on a lot of e-bikes as well. Like, people they haven't really been riding much and then they get on e-bikes and they get into accidents. It's because the power level is too much for their skill. It's just the same as like if you learn to ride a motorbike, there's a reason why when you have your learner's permit you can only start off on a certain amount of engine power. Like, you wouldn't jump on a Supermoto Grand Prix motorbike as your first bike, same as you wouldn't hop in an F1 car for your first car. So I know what you're thinking now. You're thinking, Gary, I'm not a beginner rider, I know how to ride. What brake is best for me? So between rim brakes, I'm talking about canty V brakes, and then between disc brakes, what it comes down to is really preference and also what you're riding. So for the average rider, I'm going to say one that kind of rides their bike just to commute, just to go to shops, maybe they do some, light gravel. They just use it as a utility. I'm pretty sure that any of these brakes, rim brake or disc brakes, will be fine for 99% of what you do. It's not really going to make a difference. And what ends up happening, since you've already experienced rider, you really just adapt to the bike that you have and the brakes that you have. So if you have a certain braking time before you need to brake, you'll slow down, or if you have a quicker braking time, then you can slow down less. So a good example of this is when I used to ride brakeless fixed, is you always look ahead and you slow down more than you would if you had a bike with, say, rim brakes. So you kind of constantly adapting to your surroundings and also what you're riding itself. Here we're just a bit further in Paran on Chapel Street. That's Lucky Cock on the right, famous bar thing. I didn't really talk about too much in the last Paran video, but yeah, basically same type of deal, tons more shops and kind of little more boutique-y shops, stuff like that as we go up. So when do the different brakes really do matter? This is what I think. When it actually matters is if you're either racing, trying to go as fast as possible, doing a TT or something, and you need the strongest brake in the shortest amount of time so you can get speed, or if you're riding terrain that needs heavier braking. So if you're riding down Rampage or something, it's going to be easier on disc brakes than it will be on canty brakes for sure. Having said that, I will say famous Tour de France rider Chris Froome, he does prefer rim brakes over disc brakes. So it's also even at the top level is what you adapt to. And then another thing that could factor into the brakes is how heavy your load is on your bike. So if you have a really heavy load, you probably want stronger brakes as well. But at the end of the day, I think for me, what I think is totally personal preference on what your riding style is, how you want to ride, all those things factor in, and really the experience that you want at the end of the day, the entire riding experience. Here you can see there's a little speed camera. I'm just speeding up just to see how high I could get. This is ended up getting 29. And what I mean by riding experience is you can kind of compare it to like a skateboard. There's a reason, there's no brakes on a skateboard, because it becomes a completely different experience to have brakes on a skateboard. So you kind of have to think of it in that way, where you can also argue if you take 2020 2025 brand new mountain bike down a hill, and you take a vintage mountain bike like this one that I'm riding down a hill, the same hill, one is gonna make you stop better, but then the other one is going to make it way more exciting. And at the end of the day, that's something that the person or yourself, you have to decide how you want to ride or what your riding experience is going to be. There's no way that I can kind of decide that for you, and everyone's different. So I say, if you're thinking about different types of brakes, maybe think about how you want to ride or the type of stuff you want to ride and what your experience is going to be like. And then also think about your riding skill itself, like think about different situations that you put yourself into as you ride, how fast you ride. Maybe if your brakes don't work as good, you don't go as fast. How aware are you of your surroundings and other cars and stuff like that? I would say there's tons of skills to learn when riding other than just braking itself, and I think most people probably just focus too much on the braking. I'd be interested to know what brakes you like to ride, your personal favorite, but also the type of stuff you ride, because I think a lot of people say like, oh, this is my favorite brake, but they never explain why it's their favorite brake, so it ends up being like kind of like a pointless conversation or comment. But let me know in the comments. Also, if you think differently, or you think I'm wrong about a certain thing, or yeah, just have a different point of view, yeah, let me know as well. I like to hear it. You can see I'm basically out of Paran and just crossed the big highway into St Kilda now and just riding towards the beach. So St Kilda skate park is right next to the beach. They recently redone it, and by recently it's probably like 5 to 10 years ago, but it's still pretty new for me, and it looks pretty cool, I think. The park is majority kind of like a rampy park, which is pretty fun. They got a few bowls in there, and yeah, just a pretty fun kind of setup, different setup. But yeah, you can see here just riding down. It's basically once you cross that big highway, it's just a straight shot to the beach. You can just take this road and it goes all the way down. I think there's a little bit of a hill, but this is kind of what Melbourne suburbs look like, or neighborhoods look like. A lot of trees, a lot of old houses. Some of the architecture here towards the beach is a little bit older. You got the full I want to say kind of like Art Deco-esque buildings. I'm not an architect, so I probably got it wrong, but someone can correct me if they are. But yeah, basically the older style one. You'll see, I'll pass one up here in a little bit. But yeah, a lot of brick buildings. You can see the old style here on the left, and then on the right, I'm going to pull over the road and then go on the footpath and across the road just to be a little bit safer. Yeah, you can see these kind of concrete slab buildings, probably just to keep it cool. And then, yeah, once you cross the road, there is a bike path that goes all the way along St Kilda beach. And it's actually quite nice. A lot of people ride this up and down for either leisurely rides or training or whatever. But there's a bike path that goes all the way along the coast, which is super nice. One day I'll probably try to do a bigger section of it just to show you guys. But yeah, it was a pretty nice day today. Again, pretty early, not a lot of people out. People just kind of like walking or exercising. But yeah, pulling up left here is St Kilda skate park. Not a cloud in the sky, pretty sweet. I think it rained a little bit in the morning, but it ended up clearing out. And then once again, excited to see who was at the skate park at this time. And it ended up being just one or two people, I think, and they had accents, so I think they were just like visiting. But I think they were sessioning. They said they sessioned the park the last few days, and it was quite nice in the morning. There was like no one there, which is always awesome. I did expect there would be a lot more people at this park, but yeah, there was like no one here at this time, which was pretty sweet. I might come back again at this time just to have a session. I also end up hitting up Max from the Paran video, and to see if he come swing by. But yeah, here's the park. You can see it's pretty sweet. Lots of bowls and transition. He's starting from the kind of top. You got the big bowl, kind of two sections, and then you got a smaller kind of like I'd say just a smaller ramp area. I wouldn't call it a street area. Here's the big bowl. I think it's probably up to vert with a little bit of overhang on the top. I didn't drop in. I only dropped in on these smaller ones, maybe the 8 foot. But yeah, I didn't drop in off the 12 yet. Maybe I'll do it next time. And then I'm just staying on top of the park here. Here's the street section, or the small ramp section with a little hip in the middle. Small kind of bowls, a pool bowl, some small ledges here. This is kind of like what I call the mini. It's like a mini bowl. And then there's the little pool bowl, half semicircle. And then here it is, the main section, I guess you would call it, with a few ramps and a bowl at the end with a little hip in the middle. Some flat banks. But yeah, overall pretty large. Here's the coping. This ramp is real shallow, and then these walls are kind of super steep. But yeah, kind of nice mixture of stuff. But yeah, I ended up having a little bit of a session. Yeah, here's me working out, trying to work out the lines. You can see when you skate somewhere for the first time, you don't really know the lines, but it was just fun to kind of roll around anyway. Max ended up showing up, and yeah, he was kind enough to let me film him for the video. Yeah, that was sick. That was first tee as well, so pretty stoked with that. I also had a nice chat with Max, just chilled out for a bit, and yeah, it was just a super cool day. There's like another old school guy that came a bit later, but yeah, basically no one. And yeah, shout out Max, thanks for meeting up. And then here's the bike. I won't do a bike check this video because already did it last video. But yeah, here we're gonna ride back along gonna show you a bit of the waterfront, which is pretty cool. Here, just riding along. Usually, I think it's still early-ish. Maybe this is just past noon. I know someone said when I skated last time at 9, he said 9 o'clock wasn't early. So maybe 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock isn't early for some as well. So yeah, he's just going along the beach towards the city, I guess you'd say. But yeah, there's a bike path all the way here. I stopped and filmed this. But yeah, usually it's way busier in St Kilda. This is I think this is, yeah, as I said, a little bit late in the day during a weekday, so not everyone's out, and it's a bit colder, so you can see how people are dressed as well. But yeah, usually this beach is like jam-packed with people, like completely like covered with people during summer, and it's like, you know, you might be a little bit squished to find a spot to put your towel down. But yeah, overall, if you like, you know, kind of those kind of like summer vibes where tons of people out, it's pretty sick for that. And then they have restaurants and bars on the side here where you can get yeah, like food, etc. But yeah, you can see people just out strolling, mostly exercising and just walking the dog. But yeah, rip over day for sure. Super sunny. Here on the right you could see a little bit of restaurant. They also made these ledges on the side here, which I don't know if people skate or not, but they look like they've been designed to be skatable with the little angle iron on the corner. But yeah, I don't know if people actually skate them. And then we got some boardwalks here. Nice oval. People sunbake on that oval as well if they don't want to go on the beach when the beach gets too full. On the you probably won't see in this video, but on the opposite side of the beach, so just onto my right, there's like there's roads. It's like a highway or a busy road, and then after that there's kind of like a music venue called the SB, which is pretty popular, and then, you know, more restaurants and bars and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of people kind of go out at night or go out in St Kilda just for a good time. Always reminds me of like maybe like the Miami or like, yeah, like I don't know, Cali of Melbourne, where yeah, with all the palm trees and stuff like that, maybe a bit of GTA action. And then here's another beach. Here's the beach. I don't think as many people hang out on this one, but it's kind of just like a little bit in between. I think this one has more kind of like seaweed and stuff, so people don't hang out as often. But yeah, if you want a quieter section, there's this section too with all the boats and stuff. I think, yeah, it doesn't smell as good basically. But yeah, you can see all the different boats out there. If you're into boating, you can go sail your boat. And then the road just keeps on going around the coast, which is super nice. I think a lot of people tend to ride it if they want to ride into work from St Kilda, or they want something that's away from traffic. So yeah, I also had a few people saying they were trying to follow me on a map as well, try to get the streets or whatever. But yeah, if you keep riding this all the way along the the coast or along the beach. Basically, you get to Port Melbourne, which is where I had that other skate park. So if you wanted a double skate park sesh, you could hit up St Kilda and then ride down to Port Melbourne. And the ride's pretty straight. You can see this section from here to Port Melbourne is basically completely straight, and it's next to a double lane road, or I'm going to just call it a highway. Maybe it's a 3-lane road. But yeah, it's completely separate all the way. There's palm trees all the way down, and then you got the beaches on the left here. From my experience, like Port Melbourne is is a little bit windier than St Kilda. But yeah, that's just from the times I've been there. But you can see, yeah, just tons of beaches on the left. And yeah, if you're from the US or somewhere where you have to pay for beaches, these beaches are free, so they're public access. You can just kind of do whatever. So yeah, you don't have to pay for the beaches, which is pretty cool in Australia. I think actually no beaches in Australia have to pay, from what I understand, but yeah, I can't remember. Maybe some of the national park ones. But yeah, overall pretty nice. And they got these jetties that go out at certain sections, so you can walk out on a jetty and just see the ocean. Yeah, but yeah, overall pretty cool. If you want to do some like massive training, I'm sure this would be good for it. But yeah, maybe you guys can tell me what kind of this scene reminds you of. But yeah, just those I guess beach resorts on the right, small housing, and then palm trees. Looks pretty cool. You can also see the big oil tankers in the background, where the shipping containers and stuff like that. You might not be able to see on video, but that's where yeah, they ship all there's a big like shipping container and shipping, I want to say warehouse, but it's probably called a port or something. Yeah, there's a lot of those containers out there. But yeah, basically just keep riding along. You can see it's not busy at all. Some little beach restaurants or beach houses on the left, and then more beaches again. And then you can see that long jetty on the left going all the way out. Not too many riders today coming out. You can see a guy riding with no hands, no clips. But here I'm actually just going to pull you into this jetty and show you guys. Just riding on the left here. And then yeah, overall pretty chill. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, minding their own business. You don't really get too much trouble out here. And then yeah, just riding on these wooden slats. A little bit bumpy for my bike, just because I got the skateboard rattling a bit. But yeah, you get people like fishing on the end. You know, people take photos, whatever. But I think it's pretty iconic. It's pretty cool just to feel like you're out on the ocean. And then you can see the water on the right is like super clear. You can see the sand straight through. I think the water would be pretty cold though. I didn't ride all the way to the end. Just kind of like 1/3 way down just to show you guys. But yeah, overall pretty sick. I think it looks a pretty nice area to visit. Here's the bike. And yeah, basically calling it a wrap for this video. Let me know what you think of the brakes. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.